A very warm welcome to one and all. As a part of the ongoing workshop on entrepreneurship and innovation, today we have two sessions by our eminent and prolific academicians, Dr. Vikas Garg and Dr. Shalini Srivastava, who will share their views and ideas on the financial implications and strategies for a budding businessman. Our first session will be conducted by Dr. Vikas Garg. Before I invite him, let me share with you some of his achievements. Dr. Vikas Garg is Director Executive Programs Management at MIT University, Uttar Pradesh, India, Greater Noida campus. He is UGC NET qualified with more than 15 years of academic experience. Sir is heading MIT College of Commerce and Finance, and his area of specialization are accounting and finance. He has major interest in financial markets, financial reporting and analysis. He is a lifetime member of Indian Commerce Association, Indian Accounting Association, Indian Management Association. He is certified in Customer Relationship Management from IIM Bangalore. Sir has published numerous research papers in various Scopus and ABDC indexed international and national journals. He has many books, copyrights, and patents to his credit. Sir has organized many national and international conferences. Sir is associated with several universities as an external guide for research scholars and has conducted many workshops in the institutions of repute. So we'll connect this morning with Vikas sir. Sir, please.
Thank you very much, Divya ma'am. Can I share my screen?
Please, sir.
Thank you. I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes, sir, it is. It is visible.
So first of all, my dear, once we are talking about the financial modeling, so this is very essential for us to understand that what is the requirement of this kind of things, what is financial model and all, so that once we go through the through the Excel and all, then this is essential that what is financial modeling, right? So first of all, we have to discuss about financial model. Everyone knows that once we are talking about any company, and if we are investor, if we are the employee, if we are the another kind of stakeholder on that situation, this is essential for us to understand about the financial performance of the company. And as per the financial performance of the company is concerned, we have to analyze the financial statement of that particular company. Financial statements means the trading, profit and loss, balance sheet of that concerned company. So this is essential for us to understand the financial performance of that company, right? Another thing, if we are talking about the financial model, on that time we have to analyze the financial performance of the company, and this is regarding with the already done, means the past of that company, that last 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, what is the company financial performance, and what is the future of that company. That is only the forecasting. I can understand on the basis of the historical data, on the basis of the past, we can think about the future of that particular company. So that is the financial performance of the company we have to analyze through the financial model. So once we are talking about the financial model, so earlier we are doing this through the pen and paper, but now this is the era of the technology. So we go through the different software. So one of them is the more popular software is the Microsoft Excel. The reason behind it, once we are talking about such kind of software, this is easily available everywhere around the world, and we can easily do the financial modeling under this particular software. So once we are talking about this particular, then this is essential for us to having a little bit knowledge about the accounting, about the finance, about the company's operations, and no doubt about the Excel, right? And Excel is a very common tool, so everyone having little bit idea about it. But the thing is, what once we are talking about the financial modeling, on that time we required a lot of kind of formulas also, right? So that we can do the financial modeling in the Excel, and that this is easily accessible to all. So one thing, what is financial data or what is historical data? So historical data means on the basis of the past record. This is essential for every company to disclose the statements. A statement means the financial statement of that particular company. So once we are talking about the financial statement of that company, that is called the historical data. If we are saying you that you have to just analyze the financial performance of the IFCO, right? IFCO is what? This is the one very good corporate society related with the agriculture industry, right? So once we are talking about this particular, so it means is what? You have to just take the 10 years back data of that particular company, and that is easily available on the website of that particular company. You can easily download the annual reports, as well as you easily download the other things. You can say the trading P&L and balance sheet, the financial statement, right? So you have to just analyze the historical data. But remember, my dear, you are the analyst, not the auditor, right? You have just to analyze the data. You have the ready data in your hand as a secondary data, and you just have to analyze that, not as a auditor, right? Because you just have the annual reports published by the company, you have to analyze and conclude your result only. But don't do anything as a judge, as an investigator, as an auditor, because this is not your job profile, dear. Your job profile is only and only the analysis of that particular data. That is called historical data. So once we are talking about the exemptions of that particular, then financial modeling, in case of financial modeling, this is clear and well defined exemptions. You don't require any kind of biasness, right? Once you are talking about the financial modeling, no requirement of any kind of biasness. You have to understand the company financials as well, right? You have to clearly understand the future performance. What are the future of this company, how this company will grow out, what is the input and output of the stakeholder. Each and everything you have to understand about this particular, along with the management of expectations. My dear, we know very well that we have the two statement, we heard a lot about the vision and mission of any company. So this is what? This is related with the management expectations, right? So whatever vision and mission defined by the company, you have to just follow the same, you have to just obey the same, you have to just work for the same, right? Once you are talking about the analysis of any company, you have to just check out what other analysts think about the company. Means you have to think about the overall parameters, so that it can be give you the best input, right? So overall, what is we are trying to say about the financial modeling? This is the construction of the Excel sheet, right? Once you have the financial statement in your hand, you have the balance sheet, you have the trading P&L, then you have to go through the Excel, you have to just find out the different things as per your requirement. That is called financial modeling, right? Another thing, if we are talking about the financial modeling, if on that time, this is the financial representation of the data. This is the financial representation of the data by all aspects, right? You have to do the calculations, you have to make the recommendation, you have to do the required changes along with the same, right? It means is what? The financial model can be summarize your data as per your requirement, or you can say whatever is the requirement by the stakeholder, you have to just do the same by using your financial statements, right? Another thing, once we are talking about the accounting, once we are talking about the Excel, so Microsoft Excel is a very easy, you can say, for the work, because you have to just make a combination between the row and column. You have to use some accounting functions, you have to just prepare the budgeting, you have to just prepare the returns, right? You have to just create the financial statement, trading profit and loss, balance sheet, all these things in this particular, right? In the financial performance, if we are talking about the accounting, then in case of the Excel, you have the number of method of the calculation, and that is called the mathematical calculation, statistical calculation, right? So you have to do all these activities through the financial modeling. Once we are talking any kind of loan, for example, if we are talking 10 lakh rupees loan with the rate of interest 8.51% for the 7 years, for the 10 years, for the 20 years, then what EMI you have to pay? This is calculating under the Microsoft Excel through the financial modeling, right? So on that time, we have to analyze how we have to just work for the same. What is my EMI? In my EMI, what is my principal amount? What is my interest? After completing of how many installments I have to pay my overall amount? What is my drawbacks? If I am paying the 5 years or 10 years amount, then after I want to quit to my loan, I want to settlement my loan, right? So this is essential for us to understand each and everything in this way, so that we can understand about the accounting, about the Excel, about each and everything like this, right? So now we will go through the Excel sheet, right? And this is hands-on practice session, my dear. If any one of you want to do this with me, then you also have to open your Excel, do the all formulas along with me. Then after we can do it together. I'm just sharing my new screen for the same. Wait a moment. So as you can see on my screen, this is a kind of loan amortization schedule, right? You can see the rate of interest is 9.1%. The principal amount is 7,50,000. The term plan is 7 years. And if you are talking about in month, then that is 84 month. Your effective rate month wise, that is 9.10 divided by 12, that is 0.0075. And through the Excel only, we can calculate our EMI. That EMI is 12,104.91. And everyone knows about the EMI, that in case of EMI, you have some interest amount and you have some principal amount, right? So through only this particular table, I draft this particular, the Excel sheet. You can see the 84 month data. And after every month, you can understand what is your interest paid in the particular installment, what is your principal paid, and what is your ending balance of your loan. Just you can see after the first month, as per your loan is 7,50,000, your EMI is 12,104.91. Under this particular, you pay the interest of 5687.50, and your principal amount is 6417.541. Due to this reason, your ending balance of that particular loan is 7,43,000. You can see, my dear, on my screen, after paying the 12,000 as a installment, your ending balance is only 7,43,000 something. It means is what? In case of your installment, you already paid a huge amount of interest, because as per the financial institutions are concerned, what they are doing, dear, they are taking the interest more and more amount in case of the starting years, right? In the starting months, you can see in the last, the installment having only the 91 rupees as a interest and the remaining amount as a principal, right? So this is essential for us to understand what is this exactly. So this is essential that we have to understand how this calculation has been done. For example, if I'm changing this 7,50,000 to 8 lakh, right? Now you can see your installment, your interest paid, your principal, your ending balance till the 84 is already changed. Everything has already changed. If you just do it back, that is 7,50,000. If you change your term plan, instead of 7 years, if you are applying for 10 years, you can see your loan period has been changed. That is 120 installments you have to pay. On that situation, your installment is only 9,541, right? So your interest, your principal, your ending balance, everything has been changed. So this is essential for us to understand how we can utilize these all functions in the Excel, right? So we will go through the one by one, because we have the enough time for this particular. So I will give you the brief session about the Excel. So we will start with the future value, right? So one by one, we will go through the same as per the time is concerned. So if you require, then you can also go through the same with your Excel sheet, Once we are talking about the formulas, we are just putting the formula. All of you are doing with the same in your Excel sheet. In case of any doubt, any query, you can let me know about the same. So in this particular, you can see that my principal value is $10,000. My interest rate is 5%, and my payment term period is 2 years. It means once we are talking about the 2 year, then what is my payment criteria? That is payment per year, that is 12. It means quite clear that we have to pay the 24 installments, right? And our monthly payment is 100. So we want to know about the future value. We want to know about the future value of that particular. So for that purpose, you have to go through the formulas, go through the insert function, then this particular window will come to you. So now you can see the one pop-up. Once we are clicking on this insert function, the one pop-up window is coming. We have to calculate the future value, so we have to denote it by the name of FV. We have to denote it by the name of FV. FV stand for future value. So on that time, we have to write down the 3 or 4 things in this particular. The one is rate, right? Once we are talking about the rate, you have to require the rate per month. As per the screen is concerned, you already having the interest rate is 5%, right? 5%, that is under the B2. B2 is what? This is your cell address. Once we are talking about the Excel, then we always have to take the cell address, right? Instead of figures, we have to take the cell address. So you can see on my pop-up window that what I am write down, the B2 divided by 12. Instead of rate, in front of the rate, what I am write down, the B2 divided by 12. B2 is stand for 5%. The interest rate divided by 12. You can see after equal sign, this is 0.0041, 4 times 6 and 7. This is what? This is your rate of interest, right? Another thing, NPER. NPER, once we are talking about this particular, it means this is showing the total period payment, right? So you can see on my installment period is 2 years, right? And my payment per year is 12. It means what we have to write down in the NPER, B3 multiplied by 12. B3 multiplied by 12, that is 24. Then PMT means after the each period what you want to pay. So we want to pay the 100 rupees. So that's why I write down the B5. Once I am giving this session to somewhere, then someone told me that why you are write down the minus B5. So my dear, once we are talking about the minus B5, this is for the outflow. Once we are talking about the monthly payment, you have to pay this. So this is outflow. That's why we are talking minus B5, right? Then after the present value is also a kind of outflow for you. So that's why this is in the minus sign. This is minus B1, right? Again, I am repeating the rate, that is the interest rate. It means the 5%. So we have to write down the B2 divided by 12. NPER, this is called the term period. The term period is 2 years. And your your payment per year, that is 12. So what you have to do, the B3 multiply by 12. The PMT stands for your monthly payment, that is the B5. So this is outflow, that's why we are taking it minus B5. Another thing, PV stands for present value, or you can say the principal value, that is 10,000. So again, this is the outflow, that's why we are write down the minus B1, right? Then after we come on the type. So type is what? Once we are talking about the payment of any kind of installment, so this is essential for you to give an idea that you want to payment in the beginning of that particular period. Period means the month, year, whatever is your installment period, and at end of the month, at end of the period. So once you want to pay it in the beginning, you have to write down 1. If you want to pay in the end, you have to write down 0, or you can just leave that. So it gives you the impact also, right? For example, if I am write down the 1, it means the interest amount is 13,578. You can see on my screen the future value is 13,578, and if we write down 0, it means 13,568. So it's also give the impact. It's a minor impact, but you can see in the 10,000 rupees, this is around 10 plus, right? It means if this payment is in the lakhs, then the amount is totally different. right? So once after completing this, I'm just clicking on the OK button, then you can find out the future value, right? So this is the concept related with the future value. Now we can come on the another one, that is the present value. This is just opposite than the future value, right? This is opposite than the future value, because in this particular you have the different kind of things. Means you have the final amount, the interest rate, as already we are talking about the same, the years, how many years you have to, and the monthly payment, right? So we have to calculate the present value of the same. On the basis of this, again we are doing the same. Present value, the initials is PV, right? If you go through the insert function, I just give you the help. Once you are going through the insert function, then you have to type PV over here, and you have to do the all functions, right? Then you have to click on the go, then you can find out the PV is coming on your screen, then click on OK, then this particular window will come. Again I repeat, you have to click on the insert function. Now you have to calculate the present value. What you have to do, you have to just write down the PV, click on the all functions, because you can see on the screen it have the financial functions, date and time function, statistical function, lookup, database, text, logical, a lot of functions you have. So you have to just click on the OK, then the PV is coming. You have to click on OK, then this particular pop-up window is comes, right? Now we go through the same. We just come through this particular pop-up window. Again you find out that we require the rate, we require the NPER, we require the PMT, the FV and type. And my dear, you can see the Excel is very user friendly actually, right? If you remember, in the future value, on that time the window, the pop-up window is same, more or less the amounts is same, the rate, the NPR, the PMT, the type, these four are same. Only the difference is what? Instead of the present value, right now you have to write down the future value, right? That's why I'm saying that this is just opposite to the future value. You have to just change the one function, you have to just change the one thing, and then after everything has been changed and your formula is something different than the existing one, right? So again we go through the same, we just come through the same. So in case of rate, what you have to write down, again you see on my screen the rate is under the B2 cell. B2 is the cell address, right? On that we have the 10%. So what we have to write down, the B2 divided by 12 to calculate it in the monthly wise. You can see on my screen B2 divided by 12, that is 0.0083. Then NPER, what is your term period? Your term period, you can see on my screen, that is 25 years in the B3. So what you have to do, my dear, you have to just do the B3 multiply by 12. So that is 300, right? Then after PMT, what is your present value? Sorry, what is your particular payment, monthly payment? That is 200. Again, this is outflow. That's why you have to write down minus B4, right? This is outflow, that's why you have to write down the minus B4, that is 200 rupees. Then the future value already given in the particular Excel sheet, the final amount, that is the B1. And why we are not putting the minus sign over here, my dear? Because this is the future value, this is a kind of inflow for the organization and for yourself also, right? Again the type same as earlier, that you have to payment in the beginning of the period or you have to payment in the end of the period, this is up to you. So if you write down the 1, then it means this is the beginning of the period. If you write down 0, or if you don't write down anything, it means you want to pay in the end of the period, right? So over here we write down the 1. 1 stand for in the beginning of the period. Just click on the OK. You can see the $60747, right? This is your present value of that particular. Someone told me that, sir, why this is coming in the red color in the columns or what? So my dear, once we are talking about this particular, this is the negative amount, right? This is the negative amount. That's why this will come in this way, because this is a kind of outflow for you, right? So for this particular, you have to use the ABS function. ABS stands for absolute function. So in the beginning, what you have to write down, equal ABS, then bracket start, at end you have to just do the bracket close and just enter. Then you can find out your negative value convert into the positive value, and that is the 60,747. So this is your present value. If you just want the 10 lakh dollar in the later on in your future after completing of 25 years, then at present you have to just invest the 60,747 and you have to pay the monthly payment $200 only till the 25 years with the interest of 10%. Then after completing of this period, you have this much of amount, the 10 lakh dollar. So for the future purpose, for the savings and all, this is essential for us to understand about the all Excel functions so that we can understand the things easily, right? Now, this is also the one of the present value function. So someone told me, sir, this is look like the LIC and other insurance policy document kind of. So yes, my dear, this is kind of that. Like in case of the first row, you can see the 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. These all are the different time period, right? And as per the A column is concerned, you can see the 3%, 4%. These all are what? The different rate of interest. Because in case of our generation, what we want that if we are talking about the 5 years with the 3%, then what is our present value? If we are talking about 20 years with the 9%, then what is our, because we have the different alternatives. We require the different alternatives, and as per our best maximum, we can choose that particular. So this is essential for us to understand the different things. So you can see on my screen, we have the 5 years as an alternate, means 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, means accordingly we can do it, right? And along with this, we have the number of percentages also, right? We have the 3% to 10%. So how we have to calculate? Just again, you have to go through the same, through the insert function, right? You can see the rate, right? So once we are talking about the rate, so rate is A2. You can see on my screen, A2 is 3%. But why I'm using this particular Excel file, the reason behind it, once we are talking about dollar $A2, you write down the dollar. If you see on my screen, I write down the dollar sign before the A. It means I want to fix this particular A column. I want to fix this particular A column. Dollar A means, now the dollar A means the column A is constant. It can't be changed, right? Two stand for the particular row. Dollar A2 means dollar A is separate, 2 is separate. Dollar A stand for, now we have to fix, we have to constant the A column, right? 2 stand for your rows value, right? That is 2 divided by 12 because you want to it monthly payment, right? NPER means this is your time period, and you can see on my screen on the B1 that is 5 years, right? Again, what I do, $1, it means $1. Now this is fixed. The 5 years is fixed for this particular. Dollar means now we have to constant this particular. The PMT, we are not taking any kind of PMT. The future value we are taking as usual the 10 lakh rupees. So once we are clicking on the OK button, then you can find out your present value is 8,60,869.11 in this situation, because we don't have any kind of monthly payment. Again, come on the 10 years. You can see on my screen again the dollar $A2 divided by 12. Dollar $A2 divided by 12. See $1 multiplied by 12. Again, what I'm doing, I'm just fix this particular, right? PMT 0, future value is 10 lakh. So this is what we are just fixing all the things. We are just fixing all the things, right? I'm just deleting this particular, and you can see if I'm just drag it over here, then this particular window is again come. I'm just again do the Control Z. You can see if I'm just removing all this, I'm just removing in front of you. Yeah, now I have only 1 year data, and again go through the insert function. Again, just consolidated the same. In case of rate, you have to fix your particular cell. particular column. $A2 means now you have fixed your A column and you are taking the second row percentage, that is 3%, and divided by 12 so that it can become in the exact percentage. NPER, this is your month, right? What is your payment period? So you can see on my screen the B1, that is 5, right? But you have to just fix the first row because always your years in the first row, right? So in the earlier, in the rate what we have fixed, we fixed the A column because our interest is only and only in the A column, right? So we don't want to change it. So that's why I just constant the A. Over here I'm just constant the 1. This is like the programming, my dear, not more than that. This is like the programming, right? So but programming is very high language. I'm just using the very simple formulas in front of you. So what you have to do, the $1 multiplied by 12 means you have to just convert into the monthly payments, right? PMT, if you want to pay any monthly payment, then you have to write down over here. If you don't want to, then just put it 0 over here. In case of the future value, again I'm taking the 10 lakh rupees as in the previous one. So just after clicking the OK, you found this kind of value and this is your present value. So once we having the good formula, we having an idea to write down the formula, then benefit to using the Excel is this. If I'm just drag it over here, it means the all value is coming at the 3%. For the 5 year the value is 8,60,869.11. If we are using it for the 10 years with the same rate of interest, this is $7,41,095.62. If you are using for the 15 year, the amount is again decreased. If you are using for the 20 years, amount is again decreased. If you are talking about the 25 years, amount is again decreased. But you don't require any kind of formulas again and again because you are taking this formula very clearly, right? Because you are just, in case of your interest, you are just fix the column, right? A column. In case of your time period, in case of your payment period, you just fix the $1. It means the one is your row. You just constant the row, right? So that's why now you just select it and drag into the, just drag it into the downside. You can see on my screen the entire table in front of you. This is the beneficial, you can say this is the maximum benefit of this particular, right? I hope clear to everyone till now. This is hands-on practice session, my dear. If anyone have any doubt, then he or she can easily talk to me regarding the same. Okay, so nice. So now we will move further for the next one. The next one you can see on my screen, that is PMT. Again the same thing, we have to write down the PMT, means your monthly payment, right? You can see on my screen the principal is $10 lakh, sorry, $10,000. Your interest rate is 10%. Your loan term period is 5 years, and out of 5 years you have to do the 60 payments. So 60 payment means this is the table. You can see this is the table for the 60 years, 60 payment period, and you want to know about your payment, means the payment is monthly payment, and under this particular payment how much is interest and how much is principal. You have to calculate. As I already told you, in case of the loan amortization table, you also can see the same, the EMI, under the EMI what is interest and what is principal paid, all these kind of things. Again I am just coming on this particular PMT. You can see that if you are taking the 10 lakh rupees as a principal, the interest rate is 5%, your loan payment period is 60, right? So what is your monthly payment, and under this particular payment what is your interest and what is your principal amount you want to calculate. So we have to just go through the PMT function for the same. Again I repeat, click on the insert function, you can find out the PMT, right? Click on the PMT. How you can calculate it, again I am repeating, just click on the insert function, write down PMT, right? Do the all and click on go, then you find out the PMT, click over here, you find out this kind of pop-up window, right? So what you have to write down in this pop-up window, yeah, this one. Again you can see this is like the previous one, the future value and the present value and all. In case of rate, what you have to just write down, you have to write down your interest rate. Your interest rate is 10%, that is B2, right? But we have to just constant this particular, we have to fix this particular cell B2 till the entire table is concerned, because the interest rate can't be changed. Interest rate can't be changed under this particular. We have no idea about the changing of interest rate. So we have to just fix it. So how we can fix it? $B, $2, right? $B, $2 means now this particular 10% is fixed and divided by 12, right? So you have to convert it into the monthly interest rate. So that's why we have to divide it by 12. So $B, $2 divided by 12. NPER, that is your term period. So you can see on my screen that is B4. But again, my dear, I'm repeating my question, and the same thing, we have to fix this particular. So this is $B, $4, right? So we have to just fix it, so that in the later on, once we are drag any kind of the formulas and all, so on that time it can't be changed. Otherwise, the basic problem with the Excel is what, once you are just selecting anything and drag it, on that time it the everything has been changed, because once you are drag it, then the formula has been changed. So you have to fix your formula, right? Again, the present value, that is the principal value, that is $10,000. So that is what, that is B1, right? So what we have to do, again we have to do the same. We have to just fix this particular B1 cell. How we can? $B, $1, right? So you can find out the PMT, that is 212.47 easily, right? And now we have to calculate what is the interest under this particular. So that is the function of IPMT, right? You can just see on my screen the PMT, IPMT, PPMT. We just write down all these things so that this is more user friendly to you, right? So again, click on the interest function. Same thing you can see on my screen, the rate, right? Rate, you can see the $B, $2, because we have to fix it, divided by 12. The PER means what is the period for which you want to find out the interest, right? So this is A7. You can see on my screen, A7 is your payment period. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is has to be changed, right? But the column A is constant. So that's why you can see on my screen what I write down, the $A7. I'm not fixing the 7, right? I'm just fixing the A, right? I'm just taking the constant, the A. If I have to fix this particular, then we have to write down the $A, $7. But we know very well that due to the, once we are drag it till the overall 60 years, on that time always your row has been changed. This may be 7, in the next one this may be 8, in the next one this may be 9, and so on. So that's why I'm just using the $A7. $A means the A column is fixed. 7 means the row, it can't be fixed because we have to change it. You have to remember these all things very carefully. Another thing, NPER. We know about this is payment period, that is 60, about the B4, and we have to require it fixed. So we have to write down the $B, $4 for the same, right? And the next one is present value, the principal value, the present value, that is the B1. Again, we have to fix it, $B, $1. So under this particular, the very careful, we have to just think about the PER. $A7 means we have to constant, we have to fix this particular A column. But again, I'm repeating, we don't have to fix the rows. That's why 7 is without dollar, right? This is not fixed. Click on OK, then this is your interest. Now the principal amount, PPMT function, you have two methods for the same. Either you are just deducting the interest from the PMT, or you have the separate function for the same. I'm talking about the separate function, otherwise simple minus you can do easily, right? The B7 minus C7 like this, but we go through the insert function so that you can easily understand the formula of the PPMT. PPMT stand for the principal value of that particular. So we have to go through the same. So this is rate $B, $2 divided by 12, as we know earlier about it a lot. The PER, that is $A7, we don't have to be fixed the 7, right? NPER, the $B, $4, that is the payment period, and it will fix the present value, that is $B$1. We click on the OK, so we can find out this particular. Now I'm just deleting this particular till the 60 so that we can drag it accordingly, right? So now you can see, you just write down these all three formulas, right? And on the basis of these, once you drag it till the 60, then overall things has been changed. Overall things has been changed. So this is what? This is our formula. If we are not putting the proper formula, then otherwise this is too much different or too much tough task to understand how these all. And you just see on my screen, if I am just change the loan period, I am just taking 10 years. You can see on my screen, everything has been changed till the last 60. You can see till the last 60, everything has been changed, right? You can see at last, I'm just taking the total function as all. And under this particular, you can understand your total payment is 7929, and under this particular, this is your interest value and this is your principal value, right? Here, because in case of the $10,000, you have to pay this particular, and this is all, right? So this is our things, right? I hope this is clear to everyone. That's so nice. Again, we are coming in the NPER function, right? So as per the NPER is concerned, you have to just calculate the months, right? How months you require, because somehow we have some kind of situations like we want to, our payment is $150, our rate is 3.5%, our initial balance is 500, and we are targeting the 4500, but how long? This is the question mark, right? For that purpose, we again having the formula, that is NPER formula, right? In this particular, you have to write down the rate. Rate is B2 divided by 12. You have to use the PMT, that is again in the negative, because this is your payment, right? This is your monthly payment, right? This is outflow, that's why this is in the negative sign. The PV, present value, minus B3, and then future value B4, right? And once you are clicking on this particular, you can find out the total months as per your requirement is concerned, right? So this is related with the months. Now I am coming on the rate. Similarly, you have to write down the rate about this particular, go through the insert function, right? So once we are talking about the rate, then what you have to do, you have to just take the starting balance, that is $10,000, your monthly payment is $150, your final balance is 20,000, your time duration is 3, and you want to know about the rate, right? So how you have to calculate? Just a moment, I am just clicking on this particular. Now this is your rate. So on that time, what they required, again the NPER B4 multiplied by 12, because the time duration is 3 years, so required in the monthly. The PMT, what is your final monthly payment, that is outflow, that's why this is in the negative. The present value, that is minus B1, again this is negative, that's why this is in the negative, minus sign we have to put. The future value, that is the final balance, that is 20,000, that is B3. Type, you can have to write down the 1 or 0 as per your requirement. You want to pay in the beginning of the period of that particular, you want to pay in the end of the period, right? If you want to pay in the beginning, you have to write down 1. If you want to pay in the end, then you have to write down the 0. Or if you not write down anything, it will treat you like you pay in the end of the period. Just click on the OK, you can find out your rate, that is 0.87, right? And if you are just multiplied by 12, then you can find out your yearly rate, that is 10.39%, right? So any doubt to anyone? That's fine. And as per the instructions of the organizer, Dr. Swati Priya, I'm just come on my last slide. I'm just leave 2 or 3 Excel sheets over here, because as per the time constraint is concerned. So we have another speaker also. So I'm just taking over my come on my last slide, that is related with the loan amortization schedule, as we already discussed. So under this particular, you can see the rate of interest is 9.1%. The principal amount is $750,000. Your term plan is 7 years. Your loan period, you have to convert it. How you have? The B3 multiplied by 12. B3 stands for your term plan in a year, that is 7. And in case of month, if you want to calculate, then you have to multiply by 12, that is 84. Right? Then your effective rate, you have to just divide it by 12. You have to just take your rate of interest, the B1 9.10, and you have to divide it by 12. So that is 0075833, like this. So the main thing, you have to calculate your EMI in rupees. Main thing, you have to calculate your EMI in rupees. And my dear, once we are talking about, yeah, so this is in the negative. You can see on my screen, this is in the negative first time. So first of all, we are coming on the PMT function, right? Just wait a moment. I'm just go through the PMT function. Wait a moment. Go through the insert, write down PMT. Just doing all, go through the same. Now this is on my screen. So what you have to write down? You have to write down the rate. Rate is what? The B5 is your rate, right? So your rate is always fixed. So what you have to do? You have to just do the $B and $5, right? This is your rate. NPER, this is your total payment period, that is 84. Again, this is fixed, so you have to do the $B and $4. PV, right? PV, you have to just talk about your present value, your principal value, right? Your present value is 7,50,000, that is B2, right? And the future value, you want to, that is nothing. You don't require anything right now. So just click on OK. Then you can find out this particular figure. But you can find out that this particular figure of your EMI in the negative, in the minus, right? So what function we have to use for the same? We have to use the absolute function for the same. We have to use the absolute function for the same. How we can do it? We have to just use the ABS. ABS means absolute, just bracket start. At end, you have to just do the bracket close and enter. Now you can find out this particular figure come into the positive, right? Through the absolute function. And in a very short, I have just given you the explanation how you have to prepare this 84 months table, dear. So you can see on my screen, the first one is the beginning amount, that is 7,50,000, right? But we have to do all the as per the formula. So what we write down, the B2, you can see B2. B2 stands for your principal value. EMI means you already calculate, that is B6, and this is fixed, right? B6 is fixed till the end of this term plan. So what you have to do? We have to do just write down the $B $6, means we have to just fix the column as well as the row, right? So what we have to write down? We have to write down the $B $6. This is constant right now. Our EMI is constant in this particular. If we drag it, then this have no impact, not change any time. Now the interest paid. Now my dear, we have to be very careful once we are talking about the loan and all. So your interest is always calculating on your beginning amount of the loan. In this particular, you can see your beginning amount of the loan is 7,50,000. So how you have to calculate your interest? You have to calculate your interest on the B10, means on this particular beginning amount with the effective rate of interest, right? You can see on my formula bar, B10 multiply by B5, but this is fixed. So again, what we have to write down? $B $5, right? The principal paid means so simple. In the EMI, you have to just reduce the interest paid, that is your principal paid. Then ending balance, how you have to calculate? The beginning amount minus the principal paid. Beginning amount minus the principal paid, that is ending balance. Similar, you have to do for the second column, sorry, second row. I'm just deleting all these so that this is essential for you to understand about this particular. I'm just selecting this particular again, and I'm just drag it till the end, right? Once I'm drag it, then you can find that total table is prepared, right? So once you are taking any kind of loan, right now you have the loan calculator a lot on the Google and all, but earlier we are using this particular, and till now we are using this particular in case of the financial modeling, because once we are just changing anything, then it completely change. For example, if we are taking the period to the 10 years, now you can see everything immediate change till the 60, till the 84 total term plan, everything has been changed, right? So this is the things we required, right? One more thing, my dear, in case of and you write down, you just see that this is again in the negative. So what we have to do for the better look, you required to use the absolute function, right? This is essential for you to use the absolute function so that it can be come into the positive section. All right. So this is the EMI calculations. This is the loan amortization schedule and all, right? So if anyone have any doubt about anything till now, then he or she can ask.
Thank you, Vikas sir. I think we can take up the question at the end after Shalini ma'am's session.
Sure, ma'am.
So it was really indeed a pleasure to listen to you, and I'm really thankful and grateful to you for accepting the invitation and sharing your ideas and your views on Excel and financial modeling. It's very, very essential thing, and everybody, they must have a knowledge and understanding about how they have to take the loan and how they can calculate these kind of things. So it's very essential thing. And the way you have explained each and every concept related to various formulas which the participants can actually learn and implement in their business. So that was really thought-provoking and a learning experience also. So also, like an expert, you have touched upon each and every topic. So yes, because of the shortage of the time, we could not actually hear from you more. But I'm sure whatever you have explained, the way you have explained, is highly beneficial for the participants. So thank you so much again. We have with us another guest speaker, Dr. Shalini Srivastava. Before I invite her, I would like Ms. Divya Mittal to please say a few words about her. Introduce her, please. Vikasa, thank you so much, Vikasa.
Thank you very much.
We welcome you, Dr. Shalini.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Dr. Shalini. Before you start the session, I would like to introduce you to everyone. Dr. Shalini Srivastava is having 16 years of experience in teaching, research and consultancy, and almost 3 years of corporate experience. During these years, she has played multifaceted role, being a teacher, trainer, mentor, counselor, and administrator as well. Her research areas are diverse and include financial management, financial services, investment management, project management, auditing, etc. Besides organizing and participating in large number of conferences, seminars, workshops, and FDPs, she has published business cases and research papers in national and international journals and has been granted 14 copyrights. She is a life member of Indian Commerce Association and ICCI New Delhi, and she is also serving as reviewer and advisory board member of various journals of international repute. She has bagged various awards in research. She is a blogger and loves to write articles on finance. A finance blog by the name of Shalini's Finnovation is on WordPress. This blog talks about all the current financial changes and market updates for researchers, students, professors, analysts, and all those who are interested in the basic understanding of finance. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you so much, Divya ma'am, for an introduction. And a very good morning to everyone and all the esteemed faculty members present over here and all my dear students. So today we are going to talk about a topic that is behavioral finance. And I will be giving an overview of this particular session. So let me start with a simple term. Can you share my see my slide, everyone?
It's visible, ma'am.
Yes, it's
okay, thank you so much. So if it is changing, please let me know. If it is not changing, also please let me know, because I just changed the slide. Okay, so let me start with a brief introduction about behavioral finance. Finance, you all understand that when we talk about finance, it is about money, investment into capital, into stock market, and how we had to, increase our money, how we have to make money out of money. We talk about certain things when we talk about finance. Finance is something which is totally different from the first term, that is behavioral. Now, behavior comes, when we talk of behavior, it is something which is our own thought process, which is our behavior in which how we are going to perform certain activities in business, right? So behavior is not at all how we relate to about investment, right? So what we have done is that we have clubbed these two terminologies. We have clubbed behavior and finance, and after clubbing these two terms, we come up with a new concept of behavioral finance. Behavioral finance basically deals with the study of financial investment in stock market, in any other financial model like mutual funds, bonds, debentures, and any other source of investment by the change of your behavior. That how your behavior impacts your investment, how you are, impacting, you're focusing on something else. You have funds and investments for something else, and how it is impacting your behavior, and you are trying to change your decision just because of change in your behavior, just because of change in your mood, just because of change in your thought process. You immediately change your investment decision, right? So behavioral finance is something which is basically dealing with the changes in your behavior. Okay, let me make it more simpler and let me give an example to you by just telling you, just telling you a layman's example, that suppose you go to a market and you go there for shopping and you have 10,000 rupees approximately in your purse, and you have a thought process in mind that you want to purchase a set of shirts, you want to purchase a set of shoes for yourself, which is a need for you, right? So you went to a market for a specific need, and to fulfill that need, you have a certain amount of money, that is 10,000, which you have taken to purchase a set of shirt and a set of shoes. Now, when you went to the market, as we all do, we started doing the window shopping. Okay, so we are, roaming in the market, doing a lot of window shopping, and suddenly you stuck somewhere, something, some dress, some attire which is very appealing to you, something which is not in your budget, something which you have never even thought of, something which you are not looking forward to as an investment, but it is something very appealing to you. So what you will do, your behavior will automatically change. At the back of the mind, you have, oh, I have to buy a pair of shoes, I have to buy a pair of shirt, because for that I have 10,000 rupees in my purse. But because you are stuck up with something which is very appealing, very attractive, at the other part of your mind, it starts going, why not buy this? I can, postpone my pair of shoes later, I can buy it later. Why not buy this first if this sells off? Or I can postpone my pair of shirts later. Why not buy this if this sells off, right? So what is that? That is a change in a behavior. Now you have not thought about any investment further before going to the market, that you will be buying a certain set of dress. But what happened is that, because of the window shopping, because of the various things which were there in the market, your thought process changed, your viewpoint changed, right? So this is what is behavioral finance, that you tend to invest 5,000 rupees out of those 10,000 into that particular set of dress, which is very appealing to you. And the remaining 5,000 you invested on your priority between the two, whichever is the one. Like if you want to buy a shirt first, so you will buy a shirt, you will leave the shoes. If you want to buy the shoes, you will buy the shoes, you will leave the shirt. So out of the two, you have to choose the priority, because obviously you don't have a choice. You have already spent 5,000 into something which you actually are looking forward to, right? Which is very appealing to you, right? So this is the behavior. This is the thought process which has an instant change in your mind. It has an instant change in your outlook whenever you go for any financial investment, right? Behavioral finance majorly deals with the study of stock market. So can you all see my slide changing? Because I just want to know.
If you have changed it, ma'am, no, it's showing the first slide only. The first slide is visible, the introductory slide.
Okay. So if I make it like this, it will be fine. Now can you see the slide?
Yes, now it is fine.
So is it okay like this?
Yes, it is fine.
With this? Because,
yes.
Okay, fine. So if we talk about the two sayings by Benjamin Graham and Margaret Faulkner. So he has said that the investor's chief problem and even his worst enemy is likely to be himself. Because what you are going to invest earlier was a pair of shirt and a pair of shoes. And now what you're investing into is something, a dress which you really like, and a pair of shoes or a pair of shirt. You have to choose. So what you have done, you have compromised your need, for a set of product which you are really liking. So you have compromised your need on your wants. You have compromised your needs on your desires. Right? So this particular saying says that you are the enemy of yourself, because your mind is so different, your thought process is so different, your behavior is so different, that at the end of the day you compromise on your needs, but you don't compromise on your desires. And at certain point of time, you always look forward to have, to fulfill your certain set of desires. So you are the worst enemy of yourself, because you don't know how to manage your finances. You don't know how to manage your funds. You forget your priorities. As an individual, as an investor, you forget your priorities and you invest into something else which you don't even want, or which you don't even need, or which you have not even thought of before going to the market, or before doing that window shopping. So you are the enemy of yourself as an investor, and then you end up cribbing when you invest into anything, that, oh, I end up having losses, or I'm not having funds. So behavioral finance is a study to understand that how can we control our emotions, how can we control our thought process, how can we control our understanding, right? And how can we realize that what is important for us? How can we make a checklist, that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, these are the things which are important for us. So this study is done by people just to make you understand that why and what should be the right investment for you. Market folklore said that there are 3 factors that influence the market: fear, greed, and of course, greed. Right? So when we, as I earlier said, that behavioral finance majorly deals with the study of the stock market. I will come to it slightly later. So he said that there are 3 factors: fear, greed, and greed. Right? So either you're investing because of fear. Okay, because I have certain set of money, I need to invest. Otherwise, the shares I will not get the shares, and this particular company is going to grow. So out of fear, you invest some money. Even you don't have money, you take out from some other investment and you invest into that. A simple example of this can be RBI bonds. Now, RBI bonds is something which you are sure of a return. Everyone understands that. You are sure of a specific return. When you are sure of a specific return, you want to invest whenever the RBI is issuing a certain set of bonds. So if you don't have the funds, if you don't have the investment to invest into RBI bonds, but if you see that, okay, these bonds are issued, you will take out some money from some other investment and you will invest into RBI bonds because of the fear of losing that profit. Because you are scared that, okay, maybe I can lose that. So you invest there. Or it can be greed. This can also be a greed, because you are greedy to make money, to increase your money, to maximize your money. So that greed, makes you invest into RBI bonds immediately, because you know that this is something which is not going to lose, or you're not going to end up having losses. Right? So behavioral finance is a study of economics, finance, and psychology. So what we do is we have combined and we have clubbed it into these 2 concepts, and finance is always there, and we made it behavioral finance. So why economics? Because when we make a budget of our house, even a housewife, when she makes a budget of the house, what is the first approach which you think of? If you as an individual makes the budget of your house or makes a budget for any activity, what is the first thing which you think of? What is the first thing which comes to your mind? Anyone among the participants want to tell me? If anyone want to say something, what is the first thing which comes to your mind when you are making a budget? Everyone makes a budget. Someone wrote in the chat box, money. The first thing which comes to the mind is money. Obviously, you are making a budget because of money only. But what is the first thing? The first thing is less investment and more return. What do you think of when you that I want to invest less money and I want to get more return? I want to get more profit. I should get something which is more profitable, and the investment should be less. Right? So what is our approach? When we go to a market to buy something, what is our approach? बहुत सस्ता और बहुत अच्छा मिल जाए. We want less, we want to invest less price, and we want to get a good quality. Right? So this is what is basically we are looking for economic investment. Right? We want investment to be less and the return should be more. And that is clubbed with the understanding of your psychology. What is going in your mind all the time, right? What is the thought process, right? What is your psychological behavior? What What are you actually thinking besides before investing? Okay, so you made a budget, you went to the market for a specific set of things, and there you only purchased half of it, and you went out with purchasing something else, out of the way, out of the box thinking by going to the market. That is psychological. That is something what your psychology deals with. That is something your brain deals with. That is something your understanding and your mind deals with. Right? So if we see, it is basically a combination of economy and psychology. Okay. Now, there are certain points which people have given about the concept of behavioral finance. Now, we will do it one by one, that how it works in terms of stock market. Now, what is the stock market? Just for your knowledge, I just want to tell you in just 2 lines. A stock market is a place where we trade into various securities. It is like the Bombay Stock Exchange, the National Stock Exchange we have. Majorly, these 2 stock exchanges are there in India. And over here, we trade with various securities like shares, bonds, mutual funds, any other kind of investments. Whatever investment we are doing in terms of security, which is related with a company, we are doing it in a share market. Okay, so that is a stock market where we deal with these things. So behavioral finance majorly deals with the study of the stock market. Okay, and how the stock market impacts your behavior. This is what is analyzed in this particular concept. So the first point says value investors propose that markets overreacted to negative news. Right? Now take a simple example of this COVID pandemic. Right? There's a lockdown, shops are closed, no production, no sales. Okay, no manufacturing is done. But if you see the situation of the stock market, they are growing. The stock markets are increasing. They're increasing to a very large extent. Sometimes they rise very high, sometimes they come down drastically down. Sometimes the stock markets are having losses, sometimes the stock markets are increasing, and no one is able to understand what is the reason of the right. Where is the purchase? There is no purchase because there is no manufacturing, there is no production, there is no sales, there is no purchase. Because of the lockdown, people are not doing it. And even if people are going for any kind of purchase, they are going for something which is, very essential. They're looking for essential activities. So where is there is no purchase of any desires and wants. So how the stock market is fluctuating so much and how it is increasing. So they are reacting to negative news. And why they are reacting to a negative news? Because it is not all the companies who are invested into Bombay Stock Exchange or National Stock Exchange that are impacting the stock market. It is only a certain set of companies and their profits impact the position of the stock market. Right? Now, take a simple example. Suppose you have 50 companies listed in NSE, that is National Stock Exchange, and 30 companies listed in BSE, the Bombay Stock Exchange. Out of those 30 companies, there are top five companies or top 10 companies whose investment is impacting the stock market majorly. Okay, and that is the reason why there is an overreaction to the news, to the negative news. Production is less, sales is less, and the markets are booming. Why? Because these top 10 companies, maybe they will belong to a certain segment of industry or certain segment of the people, which is in specific need for the people. The people, it is in specific demand. Maybe it can be a pharmaceutical industry, it can be a FMCG industry, it can be anything which is in demand. Whatever happens to the market, whatever happens to the economy. You need medicines, you need food, you need the basics. It is basic necessities. These companies belong to those basic necessities. So they are earning profits because their purchase is fine. So their profits, whatever they are earning is impacting the position of the stock because they are in the top 10. And if they are growing, the stock market is automatically growing. So, but we as an investor, what we see, the stock market is overreacting because the news is always everywhere. It is a negative news. I don't know how it is growing. Reason is this. The reason for a layman is this, that because these top 10 companies are earning profits, the shares are increasing. And when the share value is increasing, the markets will automatically increase. We normally hear every day that, okay, the BSE is increasing by so and so points, the NSE is increasing by so and so points. It is because of what? It is because of these top 10 companies only. Right? It is not, now the question comes to your mind, it can come to anyone's mind, is that okay, Why these top 10 companies are only investing and they are having a great impact on the stock market. What is the need of the last 20 companies, or what is the need of the next 40 companies? Why these companies are there? Why they're existing? That they have no major impact, right? This question can come to our mind. But these companies also have the major impact. These companies have an impact when the market is in a stable condition, when there is no abnormal thing happening in the market, and there is no abnormality. Okay, so when there is no abnormality, these companies, all the 30 companies of BSE and all the 50 companies of NSE, they impact the position of the stock. Over here, we are talking about negative news. So negative news is what? Abnormality, right? So over here, it is a pandemic, it is a state of demonetization, it can be introduction of new tax reform, that is GST over the VAT, so any change in the policy, it can have a reaction over the stock market, right? So value investors, they propose that markets overreact to negative news, and this is very, very true, because at that point of time, only certain set of companies are changing. Their profile is changing, their profit is changing, their performance is changing, and that change is impacting the change in the stock market. The second point says Benjamin Graham and David Dodd, in their classic book of security analysis, asserted that overreaction was the basis of a value investing style. Now, these are two very famous scientists, Benjamin Graham and David Dodd, and they said that why we overreact, why markets overreact. It is the reason of their value investment. Now, forget about the stock market. Okay, we talk in layman's language. You forget about stock market, forget about funds. What does the word overreaction means to you? Overreaction means to you something in which you don't need to behave in a specific way, but you are behaving in a specific way. Because it is not because of a specific set of experience that you are overreacting. You are overreacting because of a certain thing which is at the back of your mind, going at the back of your mind, and because of that, something which is going at the back of the mind, you are overreacting on some other activity, financial activity, or it can be any other activity. So that is overreaction. It is not because for a specific set of activity, it is because of something else which is going in the mind at the back end, right? Same thing happens over here in a stock market. Now we come to this. Now what happens in the stock market is that when you see that, okay, the position of the stock is not, the position of your stock is coming down, your portfolio is on the verge of having losses, or the portfolio is on the verge of having a break even. So what you try to do, you start overreacting, because you don't want losses. No investor wants losses. You don't want loss in anything. Even if you're a businessman, you don't want loss. If you're an investor, you don't want loss. So when you see that, oh, there are chances of losses, what you do, you start overreacting. What to do, what to sell, what to buy, which is the best option, which is the wrong option to where we invested. Why not we sell the shares which are not increasing? Why not we take the shares, buy the shares which are increasing? We start overreacting. So our mind keeps on revealing so many thought processes. We start searching so many companies, we start seeing the database, we start seeing the background, the annual reports, the position of the stock market in the last 5 years. All this analysis keeps on happening in our mind because we are an investor. And because of that hustle bustle which goes in our mind, we end up investing something which is not appropriate. Okay, so or we can also end up something which is very valuable to us, but it is not because of our deep analysis or because of our understanding of that particular business. It is because that we are overreacting on a certain set of things, right? Just because of that, right? So this is the reason why we do it. So overreaction is something that either we can gain a profitable return, or either we can end up having huge losses. Okay. So David Driman in 1978 argued that stocks with low price earning ratios were undervalued, coining the phrase overreaction hypothesis to explain why investors tend to be pessimistic about low price earning stocks. Right? So David Driman, he said this is a different thought process. He said that stocks with low price earning ratios were undervalued. Right? So what is a price earning ratio? In a layman's language, what can be a price earning ratio? What is the price of the stock and what is the earning of the stock? So if the earning on the share is more than the price, the share is profitable. If the earning is less than the price, the share is in loss. So he said that when you have low price earning ratios, they are undervalued, right? So because the profit, the share is in loss, the share is undervalued because no one is going to buy it at that point of time because the share is in loss, right? But they don't understand that when it comes to purchase of any product or when you are going to share any product, right, you can actually think of investing into a share which is undervalued. When you look for any investment, you should invest into a share which is undervalued. You should not invest into something which is overvalued, because less investment may lead to more profit at a later stage, right? So that is something when you're investing into an undervalued stock. Twerke and Daniel Kahneman published 2 articles in 1974 in Science. They showed heuristic-driven errors, and in 1979 in Econometria, they focused on representativeness, heuristic, and frame dependence. Now, why I'm showing these terminologies, these thought processes to you? Because these are the scientists who have given a varied thought processes about the study of behavioral finance. Right now, they said that it is not about the price earning ratio. They said that it is about the errors, that you in hustle bustle make certain errors that you end up having a different set of profit. Right now, what can be those errors? That errors can be due to any wrong decision, or that error can be due to any invalid decision, right? So these are the people who have given a different thought process about behavioral finance, but no one as of now is able to explain the exact reason of behavioral finance, right? So this is only thought processes, which is what I wanted to share with you. That these are people, and these are very renowned people who are talking about the position of a stock market, and in terms of behavioral finance. So if we see, so behavioral finance is a study of investor market behavior that derives from psychological principles of decision making to explain why people buy or sell the stocks they do. Okay, so this line, I think now you will be able to understand. This line explains you that it is a study of investor market behavior which is derived from psychological principles of decision making, right? So it is not nothing to do with what is the market doing, which is the most profitable return, which is the less profitable return. It is only what is there which is impacting. It is impacting the psychological thought process. It is impacting your thought process, that how your psychology is working at that point of time when you are going to invest into a certain set of shares. What is your mindset? Nothing to do with how the market is doing, nothing to do with how the market is booming, how the market is increasing, nothing to do with that, right? So it is that. Okay, so this is what is the analysis which came finally, that how these principles, how behavioral finance actually works. So this is very interesting part, because we do a lot of analysis of the market, we study a lot of things, but when we come to investing, what happens at the last is whatever is going in our mind that point of time, whatever we like, we invest into that, right? And we forget the repercussions also at that point of time, because it is something which we are liking. So whatever we are liking, we invest our money into that. So the linkage of behavioral cognitive psychology, which studies human decision making and financial market economics, right? So over here, this point tells you about the linkage of cognitive psychology, which tells you about the human mind, the human brain, how the human brain works. And it is already said that we are even in medicine also, in doctors also not able to study the human brain to the fullest. So we don't know what happens, what is going on in our mind at what point of time. Okay, so that mood swing, that fluctuation impacts the financial markets. And because it impacts the investment of an individual investor, right? And so as a result of it is impacting the investment of the whole stock market. It is impacting the investment of the whole financial market, because it is also impacting, because it is impacting the individual investor. In that sense, all the investors are thinking in the same way. It is going to impact the whole market economics. Behavioral finance focuses upon how investors interpret and act on information to make informed investment decisions. So I think that now the concept, a very broad concept, a broad idea, you must have been able to understand what behavioral finance is about, that how investors, they interpret and act on the information which is given to them. Okay, so if I give you a case, okay, now you are 5 people, suppose, sitting in a row, and I give you a case, and I ask you analyze the case. So I will come out with 5 different answers. Why? Because you are having all 5 of you are having a different thought process, totally different thought process. Same thing is about investment. If I give you a case about investment, everyone will come out with different. Someone will want to invest into mutual funds, someone will invest into shares, someone will want to invest into bonds. But when all these 5 will end up having losses due to XYZ reason, whatever the reason was, when these 5 will end up having losses, then they will look for alternatives. And from where to get that alternatives? That alternatives will come from the informed decisions or from the past experiences of that particular company or on the past experiences of the market. Then they start analyzing. But initially what they do, they invest as per their choice, right? They invest what they like to invest. They think what they want to think. But when they end up having losses, then they try to analyze that where is the lacuna, where is the loophole, where is the problem which they are facing, and what is the solution to it. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting slide, if you all can see it. Psychology and economics to understand finance. So as I told you, I'll be giving you the overview. So I have just tried to make a mix and match of economics, psychology, to understand the concept of behavioral finance. Now, we have divided this behavioral finance into 3 categories. One is the asset pricing category, the corporate finance category, and the personal finance category. So I first explain what is asset pricing, right? Asset pricing, what is an asset? Asset is something which is going to give you a return, right? Which is an investment for you. That is an asset, okay? By which you are going to increase your portfolio. That is an asset, right? Something which is of your use is asset. So how do you price your asset? When you talk of any asset pricing, how do you price your asset? Okay, so there are certain sections under the category of asset pricing. First is price anomalies. Price anomalies. What does the word anomaly means to us? Anyone? Anomaly? Anyone wants to share? What does the word anomaly means to us? Price anomalies. Variations in the price or changes in the price or something which is not right or something which is not appropriate, in terms of price. That is price anomaly. How the price is fluctuating and why there is a variation, why there is a change in a negative way. So price anomalies we study in terms of asset pricing. When we are pricing any asset, when pricing any product, we try to see that there needs to be a change in the price. There needs to be a change in the thought process, right? That is price anomaly. Now, suppose, take a simple example in this category is that you go to buy a dress for you. The shopkeeper says the dress is for 5,000. And you, as a good customer, will take out 5,000 from your purse and pay him. No, never. You will always negotiate. Always negotiate. But we don't have this. We don't have this option of negotiating online. Otherwise, we would have started negotiating online also. Because this is our behavior, right? This is what we want to do because we always feel that the price which has been given to a particular product is not right. So we need to think and we need to change it according to our thought process and we need to negotiate on it. So when we are dealing one-to-one with any investor, we always try to negotiate. We say that, oh, this is not the right price. Give it for 4,000, give it for 4,500. And then you somewhere ended up around 475 or 5,500 something. And then you are happy. Okay, because you know that the kind of anomaly or the kind of fluctuations are there. There's a margin in every investment. Okay, so similarly, when you go for investment into a stock market, come to the stock market now. So when you go for an investment into a stock market, what do? You see, okay, HCL. It was a good company earlier, but now it is an average company. Okay, but the share price is of 500 rupees per share. I don't think it is going to grow. It is overpriced. As per the company, the price is overpriced because HCL is an average company, not very much in demand, not very low, not very high, an average position. You look to Amazon. Oh, Amazon, yes, good. You look for any bonds. Oh, yes, that can be purchased, right? So what is that? You look for any real estate company. Oh, in this particular scenario, real estate has come to a standstill. No investment into real estate, right? So this is what you are analyzing as per your choice. not as per the prices which are given to you in the stock market. You're analyzing as per your thought process. Okay, so that is price and model. IPO underperformance, right? A company issues an IPO and the IPO is not able to perform well, right? Recently, I think you all must be knowing that Zomato is the food supplier through which you order food for your home or for any activity. So Zomato is something is an app, and now they are coming out with an IPO. They've already come out with an IPO in the month of May, right? So this is something what the company is improving, the company is growing. Okay, but still, if as an investor, if I'm investing into shares, and if you ask me that will you invest into Zomato, I will say no, I will not invest. Why? Because I am not sure about the growth of that IPO. Because right now it is a lockdown, the situation is bad, the pandemic is there. So we are looking for home delivery food. We are looking for food which can be which we should sorry, we are looking for something in which we should not go out to eat. We are looking everything to come home. So Zomato is in more demand. But the moment the market opens, the moment the lockdown is over, what will be my first preference? To go out and eat. Right? So I don't think that as a customer, if all the people are looking forward to that, they would prefer that Zomato is going to have a great profit in that particular phase, or Zomato will increase to that extent in that particular phase when there is no lockdown. Okay, so you don't know. The market is very volatile. So as a result, as an investor, you can have the thought process, no, I will not. And secondly, it is a new IPO. It is a new thing which is coming to the market. They have just introduced themselves in the market. It is a new thing. So I, as an investor, will not take a risk on that IPO. I will go for an IPO of NTPC, an old company, electricity generating company, a government company, which we are sure of a return. So I will go for an investment into that IPO if I am looking for a safe investment. So although the IPO of Zomato is doing very good, but I am underperforming the IPO on the basis of my thought process. So my asset pricing as per that IPO is not appropriate. Right? Sentiments. Sentiments again is the mood swings, the thought process. As I already said that when we talk of underperformance of an IPO, it deals with your thought process. It deals with how you are going to understand and how you are going to talk about the performance of any company. So what is there at the back of your mind matters a lot. Equity premium. Equity, when you talk of equity premium is, what is equity? Equity is something which is our own money which we have invested, and how much we are going to gain on our equity, how much we are going to gain on our investment is the premium, right? So when we do the pricing, we always look forward a premium. When we are making a portfolio, we always look for a premium. We always look for an increase in our portfolio, right? So again, we price our portfolio in a way that we should end up having a profitable return. PEA drift, price earning approach, right? That is again the same. If the earnings are less, the price is high, you are in loss. If the earnings are high, the price is less, you are in profit. Momentum, very, very important. Riding hot stocks and selling cold ones, right? Now, as a layman, forget about investment. As a layman, if I say, what is the right time to buy a share? What is the right approach to buy a share? You will say when the price is less, because you are going to buy, you are a buyer. So as a buyer, you will always look for lesser price. What is the right time to sell a share? When the price is high, when the price is at its peak, because as an investor, you want to sell when the price is growing at its maximum, because you want to gain the maximum profit. Right? So this is what is momentum, that how the process of buying and selling of shares, right? To what extent and how this process increases. So what is the momentum you are able to make? How much you purchase, for how duration you purchase, and how much you sell at what duration is the momentum. So the process of buying and selling of shares, when you are buying stocks and when you are selling stocks. What is the right time to sell a stock and what is the right time to buy a stock is the momentum you manage in your portfolio, right? To have a profitable return. Bubbles, by bubbles we mean small loopholes, small interventions, small, fluctuations in the market due to any reason, right? Like if I was the other day I was talking to a real estate agent. So he said that before this pandemic I invested some certain amount of money into the real estate shares because at that time the market was increasing, that there was a demand for the real estate. And I was not aware of this kind of pandemic. This is going to happen. I was not aware that this will happen. As a result, I lost all my money what I invested into real estate. And this is not going to increase in the next 2-3 years also. If you see, the real estate market will not, it will take time for them to recover. And coming 2-3 years after this pandemic also will not be able to give a good return towards real estate investment. Right? So he said, I lost all the money in my real estate investment. So this is something which was unexpected. This is something which you can't predict. Right? So this is uncertain. Right? Those are the bubbles which you can say which come in between, and as a result of which you end up having losses. Then we come to corporate finance. Corporate finance is that when we are
Excuse me, Shalini ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry to ma'am disturb you, but due to shortage of time, can we just wind up the session in another like 5 minutes? We can have question answer session, and we have a parallel session to join. So I'm really sorry to interrupt you.
No problem, ma'am. So I just complete the slide within 5 minutes, and then I will just wind up.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Great. So then we come to corporate finance. So corporate finance deals with, corporate is basically when we're talking about business finance, right? So what is business finance and how much profit we're going to earn into our business, right? So at what time we are going to issue our IPO? What is the right time? Festival time, New Year time, seasonal fluctuations. That is IPO time, where people are in the mood of investing, where people are in the mood of spending money. So what is the right time to invest? That is the IPO timing, which we see to increase or to enhance our business. Winner's curse, right? So this is you can say, it is a saying that when a particular stock price is increasing or the prices it goes very high, so the rest of the stocks or the rest of the stock prices, the companies they start looking at that particular company. And, oh, what is the reason of such great increase in the profit? What was the reason of such high rates of return? Right? So it is a terminology which is used that they try to follow the same approach, they try to follow the same thought process, that how that particular company is able to increase so much of profit. Then cash flow sensitivity, overconfidence, and superstar CEOs. The cash flow sensitivity is again how much cash inflow is coming. By cash flow we mean cash inflow. How sensitive is the cash inflow? How much we are able to get the return, right, in our business? That is what matters. Right? This is the reason why the boss or the CEOs, how they talk to their team members. They don't say come with problems, they say come with solutions. Why? Because they don't want problems. They want solutions for cash inflow. If there is a problem, they also want, there has to be a solution to that problem. And people should come and talk about problem plus solution for increasing the cash flow. This is the trend nowadays. People don't listen to problems. And even in families also, if you talk to about families, people don't listen to our problems. They want solutions of our problems. It is the same everywhere. So this is how business finance works, right? Overconfidence. Overconfidence is something which is a very, very important point, and I want to share it with you that this may lead to aggressive losses, right? Because you feel that your company is doing very well for a certain period of time. And because of that, you invest a lot of money into a particular segment of your organization. And due to change in the government policy, due to change in the market situation, due to any kind of fluctuation, what happens is there's a sharp decline in the demand. And the entire investment which has been done comes to a standstill. So overconfidence leads to major losses. Right? So even if your company is doing well, this is the lesson for the investor, that even if your company is doing well or even if your business is doing well, you should always think of the negative sides, of the negative approaches of your work, that where you can improve. You should not look for things where you are gaining profit. That is already with you. So how you can improve and where you can improve needs to be checked. Then the last is personal finance. Personal finance is your own investment. How do you invest in your portfolio for your profit? So procrastination, emotional choices, loss aversion, narrow framing, return chasing, passivity, and financial literacy. Now, I will give you a brief understanding about all these terms in brief. Now, what is that? It is basically we are trying to understand that if we are increasing our portfolio or increasing our profitable portfolio, so we need to make a choice as per our thought process, as per our likes, as per our desires, as per our emotions, as it is said. But it should be to the extent that we should not end up having losses. And if we are able to end up having losses, we should be able to chase our returns. That is why the term return chasing is there. So if the loss is of 10%, 5%, okay, we know that. Okay, it can be recovered. If we do a little sale of certain shares, if we do a slight purchase of certain shares, it can be recovered and we can, get our return back. So we can chase our returns. Even if we are ending up having losses, we can come out with profits. Probably in 2-3 months, we can chase. But we should not go for any investment in which we cannot go for any chase. Financial illiteracy. Right? If you are not financially literate, it is suggested not to invest into anything without having a proper knowledge about any investment. Because in terms of behavioral finance, your mood swings, your thought process affects your investment. And if you have no knowledge about investment, it is going to create a mess. So financial illiteracy is something which is very, very risky. Home bias. There are various biases in behavioral finance. We talk about various biases, but over here only one bias is there because of lack of time. We just quickly finish it. Home bias is that how you are trying to come to a solution or come to you can say, come to an amount which is efficient for your growth. Neither you are into a set of losses, nor you are into a set of profits, but you are having a break even or you are having a sustainable amount of profit which you can sustain for a longer period of time. Overconfidence and wishful thinking, right? So overconfidence, as I already said, I have already spoken about it in corporate finance, which is not at all good for an investor. Even if you are in losses or even if you're in profits, you should not be overconfident about anything. And wishful thinking is always good, but it should be to a certain extent. It should be limited, right? Your wishes should not overcome your needs. Your wishes should not overshadow your needs. Your needs should always be your priority, right? So with this, I would like to end up the session, and I hope that I will be able to give you a brief understanding of what behavioral finance is. If anyone wants to ask anything, any question, please.
Thank you so much, Shalini ma'am. The way you have explained, the way you have related psychology and economics is, when we talk about behavior, it's all related to our mindset and our attitude and our approach of looking at the things, and how we can actually, we should not be actually compromising with our needs, but yes, how we can actually plan the things accordingly. So we have, quickly we'll take up few questions. We have the question from the student coming that, do you think that these celebrity endorsements, the question to Shalini ma'am, the celebrity endorsements have any relevance or any significance when it comes to personal financial planning?
Yes, of course. Celebrity endorsements is having relevance to the personal financial planning of the company as well as to the celebrity itself, right? Because if the company is hiring a celebrity for a specific advertisement, obviously the company expects a good return, because we all follow celebrities. And we all say no, but we all follow celebrities to some or the other extent, right?
Yes,
so it ends up having some return and increase in certain percentage of the return of the company's profit. And of course, it is also a return for this for a celebrity also, because the celebrity is getting some work to do and is getting some money in return. So it's a win-win situation for both of them. So yes, of course, it is a financial plan.
There's another question, Shalini ma'am, for you only. What will be the real consequences of COVID-19 pandemic on the corporate credit rating?
Good question. Yes, major consequences. Major consequences of COVID-19 pandemic on credit rating, because things were all shut down. Companies are all closed. Lockdown is there. Companies are not able to give their performances. They're not able to give a good amount of sales. So it has a very major impact, a negative impact, I would say, right? Because credit rating only occurs by the sales, by the production, by the profit, and the profit is not there. So it has a major impact. It is very difficult for credit rating agencies to rate a certain set of companies. But in this, I would say there are two set of companies which will have a good rating, that is the pharmaceutical industry and the FMCG sector. So these two companies can have a good rating overall in comparison to other industries. They will be having a setback. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There's one question for Vikas Gar. Vikas Gar, can you please switch on your camera? There is a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So the question is, what are financial modeling skills?
Okay, so nice question, my dear. And once we are talking about the financial modeling skills, then we have to understand a solid understanding of the accounting, the strong Excel skills. We have to know about the financial statements. We have to understand the legal framework of the problem solving. Another thing, we have an eye for design, and we have the clear presentation skills, so that you can do the better financial modeling, and it can be beneficial for your corporate experience as well.
With this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you so much, Shalini ma'am and Vikas Gar, for sparing your time and sharing your views and ideas with our participant. Thank you so much once again.